Good day. I'm your thick as a brick Yorkshireman down under. My father was obviously a Yorkshireman. He told me, never believe anyone and always find the data out for yourself and try to understand things yourself. Always do as much research as you can and question everything. That's a good policy for everyone, isn't it? Everyone should question everything, especially the motives of human beings, depending on their position, of course. There's a thing called benevolence. Now, when leaders such as the EU and the corporate world of today and our politicians only are benevolent only towards themselves, then the rest of the masses cop the debt and the struggle. And the reason the EU is failing is because the only benevolence they have is towards their little greedy little selves. That's all they have. They've got some sort of plan which is to undermine humanity, control it, and mould it so they can then have it as slaves and eventually weaken its will to survive and eventually reduce the human population. That's what the EU has got in mind. It would seem, because PC, political correctness, is a program codex. That is a recessive, it's a progressively recessive genetic program they're imprinting into society through the young and through education and through the BBC and places like that, which reiterate what are plainly false statements when you analyse things down. So what is the EU about? EU is about destroying Britain. Obviously there are old recriminations there among certain people within the EU that do not like the fact of Britain on being British, because that's what they're doing, and the idea they can flood Britain with millions and millions of people when it's a small island and there isn't really the room for all those people is an anathema to intelligent processing of data and information. If they Europeans can't see, the EU body itself and the UN cannot see that it is a future disaster for England, well, these people should not be listened to at all, because obviously they do not have the IQ required to manage anything other than the habit of gaining wealth to themselves and bugger everyone else. And basically that's what it amounts to. Now, these, and that's what it's all about, as I can see it, because you can get information about what the EU is from many different sources, and they have some really good sources that give you, if you like, the root, if you like, what created the phenotype of, or the archetype of what is now the architects of the ruin of Britain and the rest of Europe. These people are out to ruin Europe, and not the EU is out to destroy Europe, regardless of how it pretends to look at the moment. It must have some it must be secluded in some castles or some enclaves that are well guarded and secret or whatever, and have a secret escape plan or whatever, but it cannot be said to be beneficial or benevolent towards Europe, because all of its policies, climate policies and immigration policies, are they're very much counterintuitive towards what benevolence would be towards your own. If they're going to be benevolent towards all these people in these other countries what desire to live in Europe, then they have enough money between them and the Arabs and the Saudis. They have enough money between them to enrich all those people in Africa. It just costs just as much. It would be cheaper to enrich all those people in Africa, make their lives good in Africa through microclimate engineering in the local areas, and getting them to be employed there, rather than bring them into the Europe where they will be unemployed forever. And this is an extremely contentious issue. It doesn't make sense that all these multi-trillionaires that are manipulating the EU to destroy it are bringing millions of people into the EU to make it worse. They create a massive financial deficit and social deficit, ruining the immunity of Europe, causing a massive amount of discontent amongst European people. That's the deficit. The deficit is the contentment of the people deficit. That's what it is now, as well as an actual financial deficit that these people are creating by bringing millions more people in who are not productive towards the society. Now, it makes more sense to me that they stop the immigration and might as well give them the dole in their own countries. It would be better to give these people a dole in their own countries, even if it could be relevant to the cost of living in those countries. It would be cheaper and better to do that, and more benevolent to do that, than the process that they're doing now. Because there are ways of creating food and energy now, we're using water, creating water, to create food, using wind and solar. That means you can create any place, anywhere in sub-Saharan Africa or anywhere that is then self-sufficient in itself, and actually becomes a decent place to live. So eventually, if they're half wise in the EU and the UN and half all these people, if they're half wise, they would engineer that part so the people from, and settle these people so they become more amenable to living amongst, so people from Europe can move south to Africa if it gets very cold in winter. See, this is what's wrong. It's a one-way street. And therefore, you can easily see there's a lack of intelligence, or it's a cunning. It's a lack of intelligence, a lack of benevolence, really. That's all it amounts to. When benevolence is only towards those in charge and the elite, the masses cut the debt and the chaos and disruption to their lives. Because this is extremely poor planning to the future. They should be reducing, if there are any intelligent people, and they had any benevolence whatsoever towards humanity, which they do not, regardless what they claim. They have nothing whatsoever, and the evidence is clear they don't. Because they're attacking Britain one way or another, which is reprehensible in a modern day. We're supposed to have a peaceful, harmonious, global new world order when it's all about destroying society. There's no order in that. That's just chaos. That's just chaos. George Soros is about new world chaos. It's not about new world order. New world chaos. It's that simple. So if these people have got billions, trillions and trillions of dollars, they've got all the money in the world, they control all the finances in the world, it's easy for them to keep the people in sub-Saharan Africa, where these migrants are coming from. It'd be better to develop their places there and pay them a dole there than would be having into Europe and all the costs involved in destroying European peace and harmony. So you can see straight away, these EU people are not nice people. What they're doing is tantamount to evil. It shows a total lack of Christianity. It shows a total lack of care towards humanity, regardless how it publicises and propagates the idea of equality or hate speech and stuff like that. It is it that hates Britain. This is now becoming obvious by its demonstrations and sarcasm in that European Parliament. It's it that is full of hate towards society. Otherwise it would think more benevolently, and it would sort these problems the world has with overpopulations in Africa and whatever in a more benevolent way, by using the money they have to invest in those societies on site, in those societies, by using wind and solar power to create water and therefore food and a living standards in those places equivalent to anywhere in the world. So this migration can be stopped simply by using intelligence. In fact, you could turn it the other way. If you half a brain between them, you could actually redirect the immigration. So white people could go there as well as black people into Europe. That would be intelligent. That would be open borders. As it is, it's a ruse. It's an attack on the people of Europe by the EU and the UN and whoever else is behind this. Narrow-minded, very strange thinking that we don't have to put any effort or spend any of our money or put any effort in to benefit in these people. We just go and send them into Euro Western countries and bludge off the benevolent welfare structures that are being created within them. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. My father taught me to examine all data, don't believe anyone, do all your own research. Well, I have done that. Ditch this EU, it's a lie, There's no contract with people who lie for a living. There's no contract when they don't fully disclose all they've planned ahead for the future in these negotiations. Then their contracts are null and void. It's that simple. Corporate law is simple to understand. You can make it complicated, you can go through all the courts and all that, but when it gets down to it, if the people feel they're no longer represented by the government, then the government is actually null and void. The government's not got no legitimacy if it's got no support from its people, election or not. So the governments of Britain and all those countries need to suddenly think about where do they stand in, where's their loyalty to those people, and in their heart, where's their democratic soul. It's not in the EU. They don't have one. They're an elite with no benevolence except to themselves. My name's Graham.